And I just turned around and I hauled ass out of there. I was done. I wasn't dealing with that.
The hypocrisy of the cult is one of the things that turned me away the quickest.
When I turned my headlights on, it turned and looked at us. And one of the things I remember the most were the eyes were glowing red.
I see an orb of light. It is just circling these steps like it is waiting for me.
And he begins to tell them that he saw a UFO. They're basically like, what are you talking about? That's 7 foot up on a tree, peeking around it, and that's where I saw the top of the muzzle, nose, and the eyes. As soon as I made eye contact with this thing, it felt like death.
Welcome back to Tinfoil Tales. I'm your host, Brandon. Tonight I am joined by my guest, Bob and Kody. Bob's been on here a few times before, but glad to have you back on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you having me on as well, my friend.
Would you guys like to let the audience know a little bit about yourselves before we get into it?
Sure. Yeah. So I am the host of the Tales from the Dark podcast. I also run the Tales from the Dark YouTube channel. Recently, a few months ago, Kody and I started a brand new endeavor together. We were kicking around for probably since we've known each other, which is starting our own podcast called The Ghost in Me. So far, since it's been out, it's been received extremely well. We've had some really fun guests on. We've had Geraldine Sutton, Alan Greenfield. We are diving into multi-levels of the phenomena and basically seeing how they interact with our current world and telling stories that we've encountered along the way.
I will definitely second that. And I'm Kody Richardson. I'm a published author. I've got 3 books out now, which are called Stories from the Archives. I also run a fairly popular YouTube channel called Mystery Archives. And yeah, me and Bob have been getting into all sorts of chaos in our real lives, and we figured we may as well transfer that over to a podcast. So now we've got The Ghost in Me as well. And I'd say it's been, I'd have to agree with you, Bob. I'd say it's been received relatively good. And I'm looking forward to hopefully delving into some more high strangeness and getting some more cool guests on as well.
This is something that I've talked with Bob before, Bob and Brittany from their other show. But what got you into all of this, Kody?
Oh man. Well, I grew up in 2 haunted houses. I kind of delve more into that. I've got a video that was very cathartic to get out to the world, where I kind of delved into a lot of the details of it. But in a nutshell, I had some of my own experiences growing up. So I always kind of had a fascination with the paranormal as a result of that. And man, back during COVID, I got laid off temporarily from my job in aircraft at that time, and just decided I wanted to maybe give YouTube another try. And I always enjoyed documentaries and like darker horror stuff, different, ghost hunting shows, different paranormal style shows. And I figured, why not try my own hand at it? And I've always loved researching and learning about different cases and that sort of a thing. And, one thing led to another, and YouTube decided to take off one day, which was, I'm very blessed to be able to do this now as a career. But as far as getting out into the field, I'd only done a few investigations before meeting Bob. And me and Bob had at the time met through a mutual friend of ours, another YouTuber. And we ended up meeting in person down in at an expo in Tennessee, which was pretty cool, I have to say. And we linked up again when Bob invited me to be a part of a documentary that he was working on. So I just kind of dropped what I was doing. I didn't really have that much going on, and flew out to Ohio. I had to remember there for a second where it was. And he just kind of introduced me to, how a professional does investigations versus more of an amateur. Because I'm aware with how things are kind of conducted, but until you really get out there and you get in the field and you start really delving into things and what have you, you kind of don't know exactly what you're doing. But I'd say I've learned a lot since then. But I'd have to say a big catalyst of me getting out and actually doing investigations would certainly be my friendship with Bob. And I think that's also kind of what makes our synergy work on the Ghost in Me podcast. So yeah, I know it's a little long-winded and there's a lot of details that I'm not sharing there, but in a nutshell, that's I'd say my friendship with Bob growing up in the haunted houses and what have you. Just kind of, I don't know, I've just always had a fascination with it.
You mentioned going out to investigations and the documentary and everything. That's literally what I just got all my equipment for the documentary. And a lot of the stuff I got was a full spectrum camera, thermal, and a lot of ghost hunting stuff. And I'm not more or less going out there for paranormal aspects. I'm going out there cryptid hunting, but
Oh, I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't discount that either.
There's still a lot of paranormal activity around the area, so I figured it wouldn't hurt to have some of this stuff. So I'm hoping we're able to pull something off to where it is at least somewhat entertaining, and hopefully we can catch something interesting. I'm not going out there with the intent of actually catching anything because I don't feel like we will, but you never know.
Right. That's the thing is, man, you never know. And with a lot of these places, they've got their own tales, their own energy, so to speak, whether it is paranormal or with cryptids. I would just never say never.
There's, without diving into a lot of it, there's just a lot of weird shit that's going on around here. And I got all the stuff now. So now I'm itching to get out in the woods.
I don't blame you, man. God, I can't tell you how many times now I've found myself out in the middle of nowhere in the woods with freaking Bob and cameras and just exploring random stuff, whether it's been for cryptids or paranormal or, gosh, even extraterrestrial or UFO related stuff. It's always a good time.
See, we're talking about it like it's not all the same thing. That's the problem.
Well, I only say it in that sense because, obviously we think everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people may not necessarily feel that way or tend to compartmentalize it a little differently.
I think it's all related.
Oh, well, then we're all in the same boat.
I think a lot of it is 100% all connected one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a big thing that we do over at the Ghost in Me is dive into these various aspects of the folklore, because as we've found through our independent research, and one thing that Kody loves to undersell is the amount of research that goes into his episodes at Mystery Archives. When I say, I mean, Brandon, first and foremost, I'm extremely picky about my paranormal content that I'll consume. Kody goes out of his way to get every aspect of every story, the familial aspects, that sort of thing, things that you just kind of miss in some of these we're in the TikTok world of 2-second ghost stories, and Kody goes the opposite direction of here's all the details, you decide. But one thing we do over at the Ghost in Me consistently is we find these weird overlapping stories of, okay, well, this place was a great example is we had Geraldine Sutton on, we discussed the Kelly Hopkinsville incident, went into deep depths. And shortly after, I'm like, well, I'm going to research and just see what else happened in this area. Well, they had their own slew of Dogman sightings. Now, granted, it's not too far from Land Between Lakes, which is Dogman Central for those who follow that path of research. But shortly after the saucer or the craft allegedly crashed and these things were knocking on the doors, there are Dogman sightings everywhere. Well, less than a month after that is one of the few Vatican recorded exorcisms that I could find that happened right at the cusp of Kelly and Hopkinsville. And this all happened within that 1 month time span. So again, these things are a lot more interrelated than we'd think, but it's very easy to just look at, okay, I'm a ghost hunter. I only care about the ghosts. I'm a UFO guy. That's all that exists is what's in the sky. But when you start kind of diving in and peeling back the layers of this folklore, you find some pretty interesting continuing cycles in these stories.
I think there are, I think there's a lot of similarities that people overlook. And I don't know if it's because we don't want to see it or we're just not able to see it, but there's certain things that happen. Especially for me, it's opened my eyes doing this podcast because there's been so many people when I first started that I was like, man, there's no way someone can say their house is haunted, and then you talk to them a little bit longer, and they said, oh, they've also seen a UFO, and they've also seen a Bigfoot. Like, these people are all making stuff up. There's no way they've had all these experiences, but it's more of a common trend when you start talking to people. Like, if they've experienced something, more or less, they've also experienced something else. So it's got me wondering, like, why is it that people are experiencing so many different things? And it seems to be an uptick here recently. Is it really an uptick, or is it just because it's been more talked about because of stuff like what we do? Like podcasting and these documentaries and everything, it's made it more acceptable for people to talk about the weird shit that they go through.
No, I think you just hit the nail on the head there with that last bit. And there's that old saying, gaze into the abyss long enough, the abyss gazes back. Well, on the Penny Royal podcast, they had a quote that said, if you gaze into or if you stare into the face of the phenomenon long enough, you shouldn't be surprised when it looks back. And I think it's a combination of both, where, because Kody and I just discussed this on our show not too long ago, I think when you start to look for these things, you shouldn't be shocked when you find them. And that's where you also have to be very, very, very cautious as someone who consumes this content, because there's so much sensationalization that occurs in this field. You don't know who's really making stuff up. But on the flip side, Kody and I, and Kody can tell this story later if he feels inclined, we stayed at a location, no haunted history whatsoever, and this thing kind of found us in one of the craziest nights of both of our lives. And it's one of those things that, like you said, I think we're in an era now where I don't even know if it's more accepted to discuss these things, if not more so, there's so many of these camps that are existing that couldn't exist 20 years ago. When we had Alan Greenfield on, a big conversation we had with him was about the UFO magazines of the 60s and 70s. At the time, that was the only way to really get weird news, was through these, very now defunct, obscure magazines that you would get monthly. Then they would go belly up, and there was warring, UFO magazine, lore happening there as well. But now you can just go to Facebook, type in ghost, and find 75 groups with tens of thousands of members that you can just discuss this passion that you have with them much easier. So I think it's a combination of this stuff is more out in the open. It's a little bit easier to discuss it, but it's also easier than ever before to find like-minded folks to discuss these things with. But I don't know if Kody has a different take, but I know that's kind of where we landed on the last show when we discussed this.
No, I very much agree. I think because of how communications have evolved and how more or less we're more interconnected, on the planet via the internet or, what have you, cell phones, all that good stuff. I do think it's a lot easier and accessible for people to find like-minded individuals to discuss this type of, whether it's this type of stuff or, whatever their niche interest may be. Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I agree.
I feel like for me, I was always very skeptical. And I've talked about this a lot. I still try and say I am skeptical on a lot of things because I feel like that's my way of keeping myself grounded. And the truth of the reality of all of what I say is I'm pretty much open to everything at this point, because as much as I say I want to be a skeptic, there's so much weird stuff that goes on that I just can't accept it as being, I can't explain it. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I want to rationalize it, I can't. So I don't know how to, that's just a light in the sky. Okay, well, what's making light? Well, it's got to be something from us. Well, it could very well be, but I don't know that. What's in the woods? I don't know. It's probably just a coyote. Why is
it's healthy to have a good degree of skepticism in regards to high strangeness in general, and really with anything. It's the small things. It's like not necessarily the small things. Sorry, I misspoke. It's the 1% of things that you can't debunk that drives people like, me, Bob, and I'm sure yourself crazy. You know what I mean? Not crazy in a we're off our rocker kind of a sense, but man, this is really interesting in that regard. But I did want to mention as well, or comment on Bob talking about the place that we visited. Yeah, that night, it was pretty life-changing. I would say that it was probably the most aggressive haunting I've ever seen in person. I mean, and it was very unexpected, unplanned. It was terrifying, for lack of a better word. And I'd be more than happy to delve into some more details later. But I did just want to say it's a hell of a story, and it was a hell of an experience.
I think definitely want to hear that one. I'm sure the audience does too.
Sure.
So, how did you guys come to me? I know you said you kind of like, since you guys known each other, like you went out there and you filmed with him. How did you guys actually like meet each other? Like, was it online? Did you know each other in person? Like, how did this whole thing come about?
Yeah.
So
go ahead,
no,
Bob.
no, well, we're just we're two star-crossed lovers over here. It's hard to tell the story without up. No, like so Cody kind of mentioned, we met through a mutual YouTube friend that I was working through at the time. I had kind of stumbled across Cody's content and really enjoyed it, and I'm like, man, I'm so picky with this stuff. I can listen to this guy, and I had asked for an introduction. And I just said, hey, do you want to collab on a video? I know this style of content is the furthest removed from what you do, but I would just love to collab on this episode. I think our listeners would really appreciate your voice. I think they would appreciate a different cadence. And again, in YouTube, you have to try everything at least once to get that view count up, and also to audience retention is the hardest thing. Getting a huge subscriber base is one thing, retaining them is another. So I was out of ideas on how to keep this particular brand fresh, because there's only so many ways you can tell these style of stories. Kind of met Kody that way. We talked back and forth, I think, on Facebook for a good while. And then, like Kody mentioned, we were doing a documentary. I'm sorry, we met at an expo that I was a speaker at. I was doing a keynote speaker, like second to last, I think. And then we were showing a documentary that I had made a few years ago. And
You actually got me invited to the expo, if I remember correctly.
I probably, I don't know. I mean, they were crazy not to invite you in the first place, but yeah. So we met at the expo briefly, but it was one of those, like, it was crazy because we had some of our group coming down from Ohio, us coming over from Missouri. Kody and his group had come in from Kansas, and it was a weird, like, okay, we had a few minutes together here and there, and then we did a live Estes method session and included one of Cody's friends, and then we kind of like, I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool dude. Like him and his friend group, I think we would get along with. We stayed in contact and talked, not as much as we do now. Now it's, if I don't hear from Kody after 3 hours, I start to cry. My anxiety kicks up. I get weird separation anxiety.
I immediately get in the car and start driving to his house.
Yeah. And then we had someone drop out last minute from this documentary, and I was like, man, we've already written the scenes. We know what we need. And I was like, I kicked it up to my friend Tyler, and I said, man, we could do well with an extra set of eyes on this and maybe a unique, refreshed perspective. So I just texted Kody out of the blue. I'm like, hey, man, in like a week, do you have any interest in coming to Ohio, spending the night? It's going to be cold. Bring a cloak. We're doing some magic. And I think that was like my pitch. And I'm like, this guy's not going to fucking message me back. Like, there's no way. And he's like, yep, me and my partner will be there. Need the address. Can you pick us up from the airport? Yes, absolutely. I can do that. And after that, we've just been, inseparable. We fell in love. We're getting married next October. We just have a whole lot of plans. That last part's a lie, but we became extremely close. Sorry, go ahead, Kody. You finished.
I was just saying close enough. I accept this.
Yeah, but that's kind of how we met. We became just fast friends. We found out that our creative process is very similar, which, given how Kody and I edit our videos and come to our topics, that's rare to find someone that we can actually work with on that aspect of the creativity, because usually we're both hyper control sensitive of, it has to look this certain way, and this is the criteria, this is the expectation. And a lot of editors I've worked with in the past, they don't share that same like drive, or they don't have the same expectations from their content. And to see Kody edit and to help him edit, and then vice versa, it kind of hit home like, okay, we're a lot more similar in these ways. This now all is kind of making a lot more sense. And then, of course, we spent the night at each other's houses, braided each other's hair, did some, cuddling, the whole nine. And here we are now on the amazing Tinfoil Tales podcast all these years later.
Hey,
you're making me blush over here, bud.
Fate works its way in mysterious ways to get you guys here on this show of ridiculousness.
Absolutely. I couldn't have put it better myself. That's pretty much how it went down. I remember I turned to Meg, my fiance, and I was like, hey, do you want to go meet these people that we met at the expo out in Ohio and do some weird spooky shit? And she's like, absolutely. I was like, say less. And I started looking into flights. Thankfully, it wasn't too much. What's really funny though, and Bob, I don't think mentioned this, was that he put me in his ritual magic room, and Megan had some really weird experiences in there, like seeing a doppelganger of me in front of her when I was cuddling her from behind, fast asleep.
It was also a studio.
And it was the studio. Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. That is true. Yeah. So I got to wake up to her screaming bloody murder, saying she saw me in front of her. And little did we know. Now, granted, I'm sure we would have been forewarned these days. But back then, when we didn't really know each other too well, I do suppose Bob had us be guinea pigs for that one, but it's all right.
I also made biscuits and gravy the next morning. So, like, was it as bad as you're saying?
You are a hell of a cook, man. I will give you that. 100%.
No, I can make 4 things, and that's one of the 4.
Well, let's see. I've definitely had the fettuccine Alfredo, chicken nuggies, biscuits and gravy. That's 3. I feel like you've cooked more things than just those, though.
My ramen with a poached egg. That's next level.
Ramen with a poached egg was absolutely amazing.
And then I made eggs with protein powder once. That was
you did, and that was bomb as well. Fried bologna sandwiches, I think.
Yeah, well, that's a given. Everyone from the South can make fried bologna sandwiches.
Right. I feel like I'm still missing some stuff though, but I don't know, man. Don't undersell your cooking. It's pretty damn good.
I can burn water, man.
Hell yeah, dog.
I don't have a buddy that cooks for me, so now I'm jealous.
Well, Brandon, just come down to the studio. I'll make you some biscuits and gravy. I'll take you out. We'll get you haunted and we'll send you home.
Sounds like
I've
a plan.
been itching to just bro out and do some spooky shit. And I would love to have some damn biscuits and gravy and bro time.
It's on the horizon. Work is finally slowing down. It'll happen soon.
And so if you guys were close to Indiana, I've got a lot of shit I got to go out there and film in the woods. So,
speaking of which, didn't we film out in Indiana, Bob?
Yeah, in Winchester,
Randolph County.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's actually not too far from where I'm going to be working at here in the next month or 2.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah, that entire area is just full. If you need help with newspaper clippings, I've probably got at least 500 gigs still from the documentary of just like weird because we weren't sure which direction we were going to go when we filmed the documentary, of course. And I started looking into any strange occurrences at the local library, and the lady was super nice. She's like, hey, I can digitize these and send them to you. So if you need any of that stuff, let me know and I can send it over to you.
So I don't know if it really falls into what I'm doing, but it could play into it because it depends on where the river runs. But a lot of the stuff that I've been doing is along the Mississinawa River, and I know it does run over that direction.
I know for a fact I have mud mermaid stories that were ran in the newspaper in that river.
Then I would definitely like to see it because there is so much weird stuff about this Mississinawa area.
Yep. There's, I know I have some mud mermaid stuff, and then there was some, funny synchronicity, Kody. There was a sighting of something similar to the indescribable Octo-Man coming out of the water there. And I know it'll take me a few days to find it, but I know I've got that somewhere.
There is
I love that name for a cryptid.
So here's what's
Octo.
I don't think I'm going to turn my camera on. So anyone listening is not going to be able to see this, but if you look right behind me, the Octo-Man.
Love it.
The studio's looking sick, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, is this the barn shed that you built, or did you?
No, this is the barn. It's basically completely done except for like a little bit above my head.
Love it.
But this is I've got it all finished up. So
It sounded pretty sick though, man. I'm just chilling. Well, I mean, I have a pretty small house, so I'm not gonna lie. I'm just sitting here at my computer in my living room, where the magic happens. I want a barn studio. Now I'm jealous.
Well, I remember when Brandon started building this, and you sent. What was crazy was to see. I think you sent me a picture like with the day it was dropped off, and then seeing it now is insane. Like the amount of work that went into it and how fast you got. That's the impressive part, is how fast you got it done given that you like still have a real life job and then like a family and all this other stuff going on. It was really cool to follow the process. And I don't know how many of your listeners are on your Facebook with you, but it was really cool to see that process kind of go consistently. And again, how efficiently you worked is impressive.
I had to wait a little bit longer than I wanted to just to get the electric ran. But then my father-in-law was able to come out and wire everything up correctly. Because if I did it myself, I'd probably already be dead in here because I caught on fire or something. I'm not an electrician. But he was able to come in here and wire it up correctly. And then once that was done, I just busted ass and finish it up the best I can. I didn't go all out with the drywall. People have made comments that I didn't putty between the seams. I was like, this is all just pieces of stuff that was in my basement that I didn't use when I built bedrooms for the kids. So I just had leftover pieces. So I just put it all together that way. I was like, I'm not trying to make it look all finished anything. Like, it's literally just for me to come out here and record so I'm not in the house and it sounds good. I've got foam up and everything else. So
Yeah, I'd say it sounds pretty good, man. It looked pretty cool to me, you know?
I've got it set up to where I can actually do interviews in here. I did that a month or so ago. I had a couple guys come over here and I've got the whole mic set up and everything. It sounds really good now, especially with a Rodecaster.
Nice, man.
People was like, oh, I can come out there and record with you. I was like, if I know you, maybe.
Yeah, that's also fair.
Yeah, I've had a few guests over the years like, hey, I'm also in Ohio. I'll just come to your house. I'm like, no, you won't. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, like, I
Come
don't.
to your house and kill and eat you.
I went down to Tennessee to record on the confessionals a while back, and he has a studio that's not at his house. He has a building and everything. So if I was able to get to the extent of where Tony is, I would definitely do that. But this is still on my residence. It's still been my property. I don't want people knowing exactly where I'm at because there's a lot of weird people out there.
Yeah.
And discussing things like high strangeness, you know, what have you, it can attract some pretty crazy folks sometimes, unfortunately. I know I've had my fair share.
Yeah.
God knows I've had my fair share.
Last summer, I was, I won't say threatened, but because I didn't necessarily believe this person's illogical rantings that the earth is built on dead giants. Like, mountains are actually giants and hills are not things. They're just buried dead Nephilim giants, like miles and miles long giants. I was a disinformation agent and they don't like this. So I blocked it.
You know, you've made it. You've had your first death threat, dude.
Like, he didn't threaten to kill me, but he was just getting very hostile. So I just blocked him on everything. I was like, dude, fuck off.
Yeah, I don't blame you. No, I really hate vague threats. I'm not going to lie, but I've had some vague threats and I've had some straight up death threats. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love the hyper specific ones. So it's like, I will send you my address right now. Are you about this in real life? I doubt it. No, it's actually hilarious you bring up the Giants because one of the few like negative reviews on Apple Podcasts, I think we're at like 200 or something. I've got one that says, I think it's 1 star. And it says the type to believe that a bunch of carnies fought goblins in the back of their holler, but not the kind that believe giants exist. All because I did an episode on giants, and some of the stories have been not only disproven by the Smithsonian directly, but the works of which some of these giant believers, they love to keep out the last couple of paragraphs for a lot of these statements that tells you like, this is poetry, or this is an artist rendition, or these were my feelings when I first saw. Like a great example is there's a very common writing that people misconstrue about the Rocky Mountains. And it was an early settler that went out there, and he had made mentions in poetry about the mountains breathing and being alive, and then getting up in the middle of the night and shifting. And it was, when you read his entire book, at the very end, he explains like, I know this all sounds crazy. This is an artist rendition. This is my opinion, so on and so forth. It had nothing to do with like, these are real giants and I'm seeing the mountains move around. But it's very fun to watch people just take the first half of something and say, yep, this is it. I don't have to read the rest because my point has been made. And people like Giants is a weird one that people like they die on that hill, literally, and they keep doing it.
I think, and I'm not going to say there wasn't giants, but I don't necessarily buy into a lot of the giant stories. But
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. What's really interesting, and I didn't mean to cut you off there,
no,
my
you're all
friend.
good.
I just wanted to chime in for just a second. So my grandma, actually, my dad's mom, is a retired anthropologist, and bit of a synchronicity here. She actually mentioned something about giants the other day that kind of caught me off guard because she said it in passing. And, I'll have to pick her brain a little bit further, but I think she very much does. She said that certain institutions actually did find giant bones, not like dinosaur bones either, like more like human-esque skeletons. But I would need to pick her brain on that a little bit more. I just thought it was kind of a weird synchronicity because I just remembered that from the other day.
I think
No, that is strange.
I think the misconstrued thing, and I'm going to try and clarify. I think the definition of giant depends on the person's perspective, because Bob, I think you're actually taller than me, and to most people, I'm considered very tall. I'm almost 6'4".
Yeah,
So
so I'm a little taller. That's the point I was going to make as well. That depending on the culture and the time period, like if they found my bones, say, in an area that the average height is 5'4", they'd be like, "Holy shit, this is not a real thing. Like this is fake bones. No one is this big."
yeah,
Because
Right.
I tell this joke all the time. Like when I see someone taller than me or bigger than me, I'm like, he's going to die soon. There's something wrong with him because I'm already too big to exist in this world. When I see someone that's like 6'8", 6'9", like the drummer for a metal band I was in, he was 6'11" and like 104 pounds soaking wet. Like he would be a great sail if we ever got lost at sea. But I'm like, man, like your joints constantly have to be in pain. Also, you have a jazz setup for metalcore. Like there was so much wrong with this guy that last one's the real like. Any of the drummers out there know that a jazz setup for metalcore is just bizarre. Like if you,
That is a lot to unpack.
yeah, like no top toms, just one giant ride cymbal over where they should be.
Yeah, that's insane. As someone who does drum, that's wild.
I mean, blast beats are easier, but I don't know what other.
Like maybe a jazz snare, maybe a jazz kick, but a full jazz set. I
No,
don't
so
know about that.
so we had a regular set, but it was set up like a jazz drummer would, like basically just the snare.
And like a jazz band, like in high school. Like, did he do jazz
No,
band?
he went to like a Christian school that had nothing like at all. And just for some reason, he was just convinced that this is the best setup for fast like fills and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's easier because you're missing half. Well, again, like it's faster because you're missing half of your drum kit.
That's
So-
also fair.
you're bringing up band stuff, and obviously I used to be in a band, metal band, but
Me too, actually.
we were trying out a drummer, and this guy drove about an hour and a half up to where we were practicing at, and he told us he used to be in these drum competitions, and he comes out and he has all these like nice gig bags with his kit in and everything else, and he's unloaded it. His snare drum was the smallest fucking snare drum the kick drum. The kick drum was the smallest kick drum I had ever actually seen. It was like one of those little micro kits.
Yeah.
And it was really high dollar stuff. So my guitar player's telling him, all right, this is the riff. He's showing him what it was, just try and just jam with the guy. He's like, no, give us a 4-count. The dude had no idea what a 4-count was.
What?
I was like,
As a drummer?
yeah, like it was the most awkward thing. And then one of my other band guys comes out, and like I'm out on the phone. I don't remember what I was doing. I was talking to somebody, and he comes out there. He's like, what is wrong with these guys? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, they don't know anything. So I don't know. I found them on the internet, dude. Like they messaged me on MySpace because this is how long ago this was, and they wanted to try out. I don't know anything about them.
Dude, I remember the MySpace days. I'm not gonna lie, I really miss that, especially for like up and coming bands. You could get such incredible marketing and exposure.
MySpace was the greatest when it came to band stuff.
Oh, dude, 1,000%.
Yeah, see, it was great, but being in a metalcore band from Ohio with every other metalcore band in Ohio getting signed every 2 weeks, it was very deflating to the ego when you're like, man, I'm better than Miss May I. They're
I,
from Troy.
I literally was getting ready to say Miss May I. We played with them before they were signed over there.
Guy, freaking The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know what they're putting in the water out there in Ohio, but y'all got a lot of really good bands, man.
And it's still going. Bill Murray. I mean, it doesn't stop. Yeah, no.
My friend Kody just went and saw them when they came through Tulsa not too long ago.
Yeah, big upset. 'Cause I wanted to go so bad, but no,
I bet it'd be an incredible show.
Well, it's funny you bring up like funny band stories because I remember again now. My drummer was a good friend of mine, Christian kid, very 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 Christian family. We put out an ad on Craigslist, like we're looking for, and we didn't put metalcore. We made the mistake. We put we're looking for a metal guitarist. Here's the links to some of our songs on MySpace. This guy gets a hold of us. He's like, yeah, no, I'd love to come try out. You guys seem cool. We were like 15, 14. This like 30-year-old dude with a dime bag goatee down to his chest comes in with a hat, like a Mesa dual rectifier. We're all using like combo amps. We didn't have professional gear at all. This dude comes in with like a Dean dime bag Razorback with the Confederate flag, tattoos of Satan all over his body, and then like in comes our drummer's mom, like, "Oh, you guys want any snacks?" And dropped the plate, dropped the lemonade when she saw this dude's like skulls and Grim Reaper tattoos and everything. And then we proceeded to have like a great jam session. And she's like, "Yeah, no, he can't come back here. That's the devil. That's what the devil looks like right there."
Did he play good enough to be the devil though?
I mean, if it was Pantera, he could play it. Anything apart from that,
big Pantera vibes.
I mean, the dude could shred. I'll give him that. But like, it was definitely just like, oh no, this isn't gonna work. Like we're practicing choreography for our crabcore here. I can't see this guy ever doing synchronized breakdowns with us. So,
oh, absolutely not.
Oh, you said crabcore. So there was a picture on my guitar player's profile that he had posted, and we're all down in the crabcore position, and there were so many people said fucking crabcore, and the next person commented fucking crabcore, fucking it just kept going like a big train of people saying fucking crabcore.
Crabcore's kind of making a comeback though.
Dude, everyone hated it, and then it went away, and everyone's like, man, I really miss when like my life didn't suck, and all the bands like had
Right? All the bands were synchronized headbangs, baby.
Yeah, bring it back. I love how we started on the Brandon and I have done this at least 3 different times where we start on the paranormal and we still always get to metal music somehow.
That's hilarious though, because like all three of us grew up in the in our scenes and making music and shit. I think that's pretty badass.
I think it's the midlife crisis for guys that used to be in bands. They turn into doing podcasts.
Bro, you're not fucking wrong though. You're not wrong at all. I've said that before.
Well, I just picked up a new guitar today. I'm getting it restrung tomorrow. I'm putting like some super, super thick jazz slinkies on it. And I'm just going to go like live my Southern metal dream for a little while. And then I'll track some stuff for Kody to bring his vocals back. But
I'm so down for that.
Hell,
I might even be able to lay drums for you too. Just depends on what you want.
There was a meme, not to interrupt, but I saw it. My friend actually sent. I was like, I never felt so attacked in my life. It was something about you get to a point when you're like middle aged. You either used to do band stuff, or you start to get a fascination with smoking meats, or you start a podcast. I was like, God damn it! I have a smoker, and I do a podcast because I don't do band stuff anymore.
you throw World War II history in there, you've got the trifecta.
Dude, that's straight facts.
Yeah, no, my favorite thing, and we can get back to the paranormal after this, but so Brandon, you never met, Cody's fiance Meg. She's like 4'3". She's basically a goblin, weighs like 16 pounds. You would not think that her like go-to band would be Maylene and the Sons of Fucking Disaster. And I introduced her to Southern metal, and it's been such a strange journey to watch her like, hey, do you have any more songs like this one, like Thrush? And I'm like, that's such a crazy thing. Like everything that you could have taken from me, you adopted Southern metal. This Scottish blonde woman who looks like she's a Victorian child walking around is just blasting Dallas Taylor as loud as she can. It's my favorite thing about Meg, hands down.
It's hilarious because Meg didn't listen to any metal whatsoever when we got together. I remember when we first started dating, we were like showing each other like what kind of music we're into, right? And it was so out of her like perception that she did not know what to make of what I was showing her. And I think I played something like relatively tame. I think I played something off of like Exoplanet by the Contortionist. Incredible album, by the way.
That's one of the few that I can listen to front to back.
Same, dude. Same.
They're actually cool
Absolute
dudes.
masterpiece.
They're actually local to me.
No shit. That really?
They're
Damn.
from Indianapolis area, so it's not directly my town, but my old guitar players, I guess 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon. My old guitar player's first cousin is married to their first cousin or something like that.
Dude, that's fucking sick. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, incredible musicians, man. All of them, really. But yeah, I think I'd showed her again. I can't remember what track it was now, but something off of Exoplanet, and she was like, "What in the fuck is this?" Like she thought I was like the weirdest person ever. And I mean, like she's slowly gotten into some more metal bands. It is ironic though. It's like if I show her something cool or something that I like that I know that she could potentially like she likes like some Bring Me the Horizon and stuff now, but she meets Bob. Bob plays her, you know, Maylene and Sons of Disaster. And I love that she's like, oh, this is super cool because Bob's super cool. But I'm like, well, fuck me, right? I've been trying to warm you up to metal for years, but it takes Bob's doing.
It's the blues aspect of Southern metal that I think just it hooks everybody. No, but the only band that I can remember being like, what the fuck when I heard was Rings of Saturn for the first time. I'm like, there's no way that drummer's real. It's not possible.
No, they're real, bro.
Yeah, well, I saw them with Born of Osiris, and I was like, holy shit, this guy's actually like, this is not automated drums. Like he's playing this.
I wonder what drummer you ended up seeing. I'm super familiar with them. It depends on what year. It might have been shit. It might have been like Jesse Beeler.
I want to say this was like 09 maybe.
Yeah, it would have been either Jesse Beeler or the dude before him. Yeah. I saw him, let's see, back in like, I saw him at a little venue in Wichita in like 2014 or 15 or 16, somewhere in that mix. And it was a pretty solid lineup. They had Aaron Stoshner on drums, and he's just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, see, I saw it was them, Born of Osiris, and I
love Boo as well.
It was them, Born of Osiris, and Attila. And it was such a weird because like Born of Osiris, Rings of Saturn, you can kind of see why they would tour together. But adding Attila didn't make any sense, but it was still a hell of a show.
No, that's the thing. Like you gotta love those grab bag shows, man.
We used to have a venue just 15 miles from here, and they used to get all these great tours that came through. And then I feel like Tinfoil Tales has turned into my old podcast, Dark Side of the Scene, where we used to talk about all the horrors of band stuff. But
that make a comeback.
We
fucking stories, bro.
We had this venue, and I don't know all of the details, but basically there was a lot of shady stuff that happened, and I know someone got ran over in the parking lot, and all sorts of like weird craziness happened. Basically, the venue got shut down, but
too they got shut down too.
That's basically the scene kind of died once all the venues dried up, and then
crazy because that's exactly what happened to us as well for the longest time.
And we started the band back up in 2016, and we played a show in Indianapolis the night before lockdown in 2020. That was the last show we played. It was the last time we'd ever jammed as a band, because after that we didn't have the drummer anymore, and we just kind of have not done anything in the last 5 years.
Damn, dude.
And
yeah,
then,
the last band I was in, let's see. Fuck, it's been a while now. It's been like 6 or 7 years since we've played together. And really, we just kept having member issues with substance abuse, man. Certain people just couldn't get it together long enough for us to really be able to.
That's been our problem with drummers.
Ground.
Well, this is actually a great time to announce that the Tinfoil Tales and the Ghost of Me's new hardcore band is coming out this fall.
So down, dude.
I literally just sold my PA system. I had a brand new PVPA system I got to do band stuff, and then it never panned out. So I just literally sold all my stuff. Some guy come from Ohio and bought it from me about 2 months ago.
Damn.
I was like,
it was just Bob with a fake mustache on.
A fake mustache over my face, over my real beard.
Right. What if you don't mind me asking, man, what all did you play? I know we're like super sidetracked right now, but I was just curious.
I just did the vocals.
Oh, hell yeah. That's primarily what I did as well. Just heavy vocals.
Mm.
I did clean vocals and stuff in a few different projects, but yeah, heavy vocals, especially like metalcore, and like deathcore vocals I specialized in.
Where everyone's done listening to this episode, I suggest you go and check out I'm about to say Tinfoil Tales is already on here.
Well, I'll definitely do that.
Go out and listen to My Dismay. That would be, you have to find it on YouTube, but there is a song called The Beast of Bray Road. And if anyone knows me, they'll understand why I wrote that song.
And my bad, what was the name of the band, bro?
To My Dismay.
To My Dismay. Okay, I got you.
It should be up on YouTube. We should have a full-length album on there. And then there should be like a song on there for that.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, my old bands were, the ones that I made it the furthest in, I should say, was a band called Improper Burial. And then I did a band after that called the Philadelphia Experiment. And we talked about all sorts of crazy, kooky shit in the Philadelphia Experiment for sure.
I realized with this last incarnation of the band, a lot of the song titles were related to sort of cryptid-based things. We had a song called Skinwalker. We had The Beast of Bray Roads relating to a dog man. And then The Curse of This Town was a song which was kind of like this whole area is basically cursed because you can't leave. It's like some sort of weird demonic possession that just brings you back into the void. So there's all sorts of stuff that I related to this whole area.
Oh, that's sick though, man. I'm glad that you like incorporated that. That's badass.
Now, 10 years later, I'm doing a documentary about the weird curse shit that sucks you down in this drain.
Right.
But I guess for anyone still listening, if they haven't tuned out yet, we can go back to normal stuff. But I enjoy having differentness to the episodes. Not everything on Tinfoil Tales is always going to be just paranormal or weird or whatever. Like one of the first episodes we recorded, my buddy and I actually talked about a lot of band stuff. So there is a band episode out there. That's how I got the idea for Dark Side of the Scene. So him and I actually did that. I think we did like 50 episodes of it, but we just didn't have an audience. I was like, oh, it's just like when we're playing shows. There's no audience.
I've definitely played some empty shows as well, man. My favorite, and again, I know we're sidetracked, so I'll make it brief, but we had gotten lied to by a promoter out in Omaha.
That doesn't happen.
Right. No, never. But we drove from where we were. It was about an 8.5 hour drive to get there. We get there. There's like 5 dudes at like a bar, like older to middle-aged dudes. So we play. They're like, what the fuck is even this? Because we were like very like proggy, like heavy. I don't know how else to describe it. We kind of all over the place, but definitely very prog and very heavy. And we get done playing, and the rest of my guys, like they paid us $50 too. We were supposed to have like a $400 guarantee because of like the travel and everything else. We get like $50. The rest of the dudes like, fuck it, we'll get a hotel or whatever. So they go and get a La Quinta, and they have a great time, right? I had to work the next morning or the next day. I can't remember if it was morning or not. And we also didn't check the weather. And what was supposed to be an 8.5 hour drive back turned into a 13.5 hour drive back because it was like straight up blizzard conditions. It was rough, to say the least. It was rough. And I was driving us all in a Ford Taurus, no less, everyone who had come up with me. So it's kind of a miracle we made it back alive, really.
You fit all the gear
no,
in a
pros definitely never lie.
You fit all your gear in a Taurus?
No. Sorry. I had brought, Meg with me. I had brought, I think, my cousin and like one of my good friends. No, gear wise, thankfully, the other dudes had a van, so we were all set in that regard.
I was gonna say we used to pack a trailer that we basically had a flatbed trailer that was converted into a covered trailer. And it was haggard as shit, but
that's how it is, man.
And someone decided to write turd on one side and fart on the other in duct tape. So we were driving down the road with turd and fart down the roads. We get beeped at by people and everything else.
That's amazing.
Good times.
And that's fucked up, but also hilarious.
Good times, though. Looking back at it now, I was like, man, I don't necessarily miss the music aspect. I do. I just miss the camaraderie and the adventures we would get into.
Oh, same, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. I miss the musical aspect greatly, but yeah, no, the shenanigans is what we would say.
Mm-hmm.
I miss those for sure.
Well, now that we've ran it on here for 30 minutes off the main topic, what's some stuff you guys like to talk about? I know you'd mentioned earlier sharing some of the stuff you experienced when you were with Bob.
Yeah. Roy, well, it was a place called Roy's Place down.
But you got to talk about the boys in the field first, because that was your first like introduction. Second, there's something.
All right, fair enough. We'll tell them about the boys in the field. So, what was this? This is the first night I think that we got there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was either the first or second.
When I'd flown to Ohio, you guys picked us up from the airport. And you're like, okay, I'm going to take you out to do some spooky shit, which at that time I was not used to whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we go out to this supposedly haunted road. Where was it, Bob? If you don't mind.
Yes, it was River Road, which is like right in between Sydney and Piqua, Ohio. And this place had
like infamous.
Yeah, well, like growing up, and again, I don't want to get too off topic, but like I grew up during the Satanic Panic, and we were consistently hearing stories of like cultists out in the woods, which turned into a T-shirt that I made that literally said, "Be the cultist you want to see out in the wood, or you want to see in the woods." But
very valid.
There were stories of that. At one point in time, I was driving home from a girlfriend's house, 10, 15 years ago at this point. I was convinced I saw like the Phantom Hitchhiker that folks talk about out there. And I was like, there's not a whole lot we can do to not get in trouble. We have the documentary. Let's go do something. So we went out to River Road. And then Kody can kind of, explain what happened from there. But it was a good night.
Oh, it was a great night. But we're driving down this road and Bob's telling us how fucking crazily haunted it is. And it was already very spooky. Like, I'm pretty sure it was a full moon with like fast moving clouds overhead. So like everything's illuminated, and like the moonlight's coming through the forest and shit. And like it looks spooky, like it's fitting the vibe for sure. And we park at some point on River Road, and we're basically where we've got woods on the right hand side of the car, and then we've got like a cornfield, like a plowed cornfield on the left hand side, like what was once a cornfield, an empty field basically. And we're doing a spirit box session, and we start getting some really interesting and I would say fairly intelligent responses, which was already blowing my mind, right? And this thing is like, I don't remember if it said get out of the vehicle or I'm in the field or something like that. And Bob's like, everything in my body is like, yeah, we're not going to listen to the disembodied voice that's coming out of the spirit box. We're not going to follow its rules or directions. And Bob's like, all right, you coming with me, bro? And I'm like, oh shit. So he gets out of the car. And of course I don't want to look weak. So I'm like, all right, we're going to follow him. And I'm like, I'm scared shitless. Meanwhile, and it's basically telling us to go out into the field. So we walk out into the field and we're walking a little bit of ways, and Bob's like, okay, like, are you going to show us or what have you? And it's like, two boys in a field. And then that was pretty much the end of it. It was almost like we were getting trolled by the ghost. And now that I think about it, I'm like, I wonder if it was a ghost, right? If it was real. If it was someone from if it was fucking a dude named Ezekiel from the 1800s, and he just thought it was the funniest shit ever. That there's just two boys out in the field. You know what I mean? So it was a wild experience, but it was also a pretty hilarious one, especially for it being the first time we're hanging out doing spooky shit.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best introductions to the trickster element that I like to talk about so often on all of my programs. Because there's always this one aspect that people, if you get caught up in the fear, you don't notice it. But the longer you do this, the more you kind of find this underlying trickster-esque element to a lot of hauntings. That's take away the situation. This would be fucking hilarious. And you can't ever really say that when you're telling these stories. Like when you're covering someone else's story, because there were several things from the original Amityville story that I'm like, you know what? If you take away the fear, this would be fucking hilarious. This would be the funniest.
You're not wrong though.
And again, that's that underlying trickster-esque element, which Kody will get into the breakdancing Jesus here in a moment. That's
man,
it's terrifying, but then you look back that is low key fucking hilarious that happened.
There was some funny ass shit about it, but man, was it not funny in the moment at all. It was so not funny in the moment, dude. But yeah, no, I going back to our story, I believe so. We were down there to go caving, pretty much, were we not?
Yeah. Now this has been a handful of years ago at this point, but yeah, we were going caving outside of a small community in Kentucky.
Right, and basically this is where we messed up. We let Bob pick the Airbnb that we were supposed to kind of relax and rejuvenate in overnight, and then go back to our shenanigans the following day. And we get there, and I believe weren't all of the doors unlocked?
Yeah, yes, which the woman argued with us on Airbnb saying that they were not unlocked and that we didn't know what we were talking about.
Yeah, we were just being gaslit by the lady that was actually running the Airbnb. And she did say something about her mother may have come by or something. Or we were trying to make sense of it, right? But Bob being ex-military, we go, I'm following him. We know each other a little bit at this point, but not super duper well. So we're sweeping the house and things just start. Well, did shit pop off when we first got there, or was it when we got back? Because I honestly can't remember. I feel like I blocked some of this shit out.
Yeah, so we got there. The only real strange thing when we got there was all the doors were unlocked, which was really strange because she gave us some pretty convoluted go through the back door instructions when we first got there. I remember we had a conversation of how weird it was because we had found a Confederate burial mound right up literally when I say right up the street, and you can basically see it from the backyard before this.
There was the burial mound which was not listed, which I was like, man, that's crazy because especially at that time I hadn't been to any Civil War places at all, battlefields or otherwise. So I was like, man, this, being a history nerd, I'm like, this is fucking awesome. But it wasn't listed, which was weird. And next to that battlefield, and then the battlefield essentially butted up to this property's property line.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I do remember that. I believe we went there, we're like, that's weird. And you were talking to the owner and stuff and kind of giving us updates. And then I believe we went caving after that, did we not?
Yeah, I think we went and looked at a few caves. I think we went into one pretty deep, and then it was getting late. We were basically trying to plan out our stop for the next night. 'Cause the next night we were doing some group activities in the cave.
Right.
Magic stuff. Nothing.
Yeah, that sounded a little sus, but yeah, no, magic.
Nothing strange.
Nothing strange. No, it's fine.
Somehow that sounds less sus than the other thing. But yeah, we were basically just trying to figure out a good location to do some magic stuff. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't believe magicians should talk about their magic at great lengths, especially ongoing stuff, which it still is. But
right.
Yeah, we got back super late, and that's when the fuckery it started and it didn't stop until I finally.
I remember I guess I can't speak for everyone, but I was so tired at first. I was like ready to like crash out. And
Yes.
got there, and I'm pretty sure the doors were unlocked again. And we were like, what the fuck is going on? So we went inside, and shit started happening in real time. Like objects were being moved, and it was just me and Bob together, like sweeping the house. And I was like, I don't know this guy super well, but A, he doesn't strike me as the type that would fuck with me like this, right? For one. For two, even if he was, he would have to be like the greatest fucking magician I've ever seen. You know what I mean? In like a Hollywood sense. Because like I'm trying to figure out how someone could even do that, right? And by objects moving, I mean like, well, there was breakdancing Jesus. There was like a Jesus statue, or it was like a statue of Mary holding like, I think it was baby Jesus in the bedroom that Bob was going to be staying in. And it kept, I swear to you, every time we would turn our backs and turn back, this shit would be in like a different position.
Yeah, well,
breakdancing Jesus.
Yeah. So where it started is we swept the house initially. We didn't see anything. We just kind of chalked it up to like, okay, this is strange, but it's not like threatening. Like someone's in the house. We need to leave now. We had cleared the house. We had a weapon. Like I felt safe.
Multiple weapons. Like we were definitely ready in that regard.
Yeah, but I felt safe until I opened the bathroom door and I was like, "Hey, Kody, come here." Like,
oh fuck, that's right, the mirror.
Yeah, there's like it wasn't like a full length mirror, but it was a pretty large mirror. Like it was like face down on the ground. I'm like, "Hey, don't tell the girls. I don't want to freak anybody out." But like, it was one of those like, did you do this? Did I do? And again, we had the same thoughts initially of like, are they fucking with us? Is that what this
where
is?
It was too was really like how it was sitting and where it was at was really strange because it was obviously above the sink at some point. And where it was at was like back tucked towards the back end of the wall, and it was facing straight up. And I'm like, what are the odds that it would have fallen and not broken and ended up like that? You know what I mean? Like that already, I was like, what in the actual fuck is going on? Sorry, as you were saying, Bob.
No, but that was kind of the first inkling of like something's going on. But my brain even rationalized like maybe, and I think we even had the conversation in the bedroom, like maybe it did fall.
Right. And maybe it just landed in like the most perfect way humanly imaginable.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe it didn't break. And then like we started noticing like small things would happen. Like Kody would leave the room and then like something would move to another room. And that's when I'm like, well, is Kody doing this? Am I doing this?
Part of that was so strange was those glass leaflets that again were in the room that you were going to be staying in. So I hadn't even gone like I'm sorry, I take that back. I had gone into when we did the first sweep, I went into the room that me and Meg were going to be staying in. And, like I usually sleep on the left-hand side of the bed. So it's like, okay, that's going to be my spot. Well, I come back and I remember I went in there during the first initial sweep again for the second time and nothing was out of the ordinary. And then a little while later, you know what I mean? I opened the door again and like we've been together the entire time. No one else has been in this room, right? Like it's just been us. And there's a glass leaflet from your room in that room, the other room where I'm going to be sleeping on the left-hand side of the bed as well, no less, like on the pillow. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that to me was the first like because like my partner at the time, she was outside with Meg. We had told the girls like stay outside.
They were in the shit. I don't even remember what we drove at that time. I think it was a rental, but yeah, they're out in the car basically.
Yeah, so again, like my partner Meg, they're out in the car. Kody and I are in the house, and again, at this point, we were feeling each other out. Like, are you fucking with me? Am I fucking with you?
Right.
And we kept this kind of like almost like second guessing mentality up until I think we started to talk about it, and then we went back into a room, and that's when the leaflet was moved. And we both together at this point, we kind of were hip to hip, like, okay, well, someone else is in the house, like we need to catch them, basically. So again, our minds didn't go to supernatural right away. They went to like some
kind of rationalize what was going on.
Yeah, and again, like this area we were staying in, like they were known to have like people who did abuse drugs, a lot of weird break-in stories. Like they weren't uncommon for this part of Kentucky. So again, our brain was someone is in the house with us. This is not good. And again, just I have to continuously reiterate, like my partner and Meg were in the car. Cody and I were the only ones in the house. I know for a fact they never came in because we would occasionally check through the windows, look out the front door. They were still in the car, no questions asked. And
Right. We're right side by side pretty much. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's that thing where it's like, unless I'm the greatest magician ever, you know what I mean? And I'm not the type of person to do shit like that either.
no,
Like,
I've,
kind
I've
of feeling each other out at that point, you know?
yeah, and we both know now, like we both have too much respect for the craft and too much. We have too small of a filter for nonsense to let that happen or to do that to someone.
Right.
And it was just so strange because it was like, and it started as little things, and then it seemed like this is a thought I've had since then, that the more Cody and I fed into it, the bigger it started to become. Because it started with this Jesus statue moving around, some leaves moving around, nothing too insane. I mean, that's wild in its own right. Let's be honest.
Right.
But when Cody, when you saw that hand, that's when I was like, okay, this is now real. Like something extremely strange. And I do want to preface this that I did reach out to the homeowner. She gaslit the fuck out of me and said I was tired. I scared myself in the caves. And again, I have been in this. I've spent the night in the TNT area. I am one of the few, and this is not like a ego thing, but like I do this stuff. I don't just read about it. I go and I do this stuff by myself a lot of times. Like
I can honestly attest to that.
yeah, I don't get scared by a house. And what's crazy is we were the last guest she ever had, and she has removed the home since from Airbnb after posting the rating saying like they basically scared themselves in the cave, and I think they just wanted their money back. And it's like, well, we still stayed in the fucking town for like 2 other nights, so it's not like we wanted to leave and we didn't want our money back. Like we wanted to just get out of the fucking house, basically.
Well, we called the fucking, thinking at first it was maybe someone messing with us. We called the sheriff, but it's such a small town. There was no sheriff on duty, bro.
Yeah, they said it would be several.
Like there should be like a
hours.
record. You know, we wanted there to be a record of us at least trying to fucking figure out what was going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, they said it would be like several hours before they can get somebody out there. I'm like, that's insane.
You're like, yeah, that's fucking ridiculous.
Good thing
So-
it wasn't an emergency of someone dying.
I mean, that's true, I suppose. But even then, shit, I guess it would have taken a few hours before they would have got out there, anyways. But yeah, no. Well, at this point, when I saw that hand, everyone was inside, and we were all in the living room together. And I think I had gone to the bathroom, something like that. And I was coming back to the living room. And where it was set up, it was like the living room, and it was kind of like an open type of area that where the living room kind of met the kitchen. And I'm looking at everybody, right? And then I hear like a tapping sound. And I looked to my left, and there was a window that was over the sink there in the kitchen. And I shit you not. And to this day, I still cannot explain this. And I'll tell you why here in just a moment. Is I see this weird, it was like an elongate, like someone who has like really skinny fingers, a pale hand, just tapping like with its like 3 fingers. I had 5 fingers, but you know what I mean? Like the ring finger, pointer finger, and middle finger on the window. And I remember I told Bob, I was like, what in the actual fuck? And we ran outside, and we don't see anything. And what makes this really freaky, and something I still cannot figure out to this day, is where the window was located, there was a staircase that went down into like a basement area. And where the window was, where the staircase was like a 20-foot difference, like a 15, 20-foot difference. And I'm like, there's no way someone was able to bring a ladder over here, do that. And by the time I get outside, which is not even 30 seconds later after I see this thing, right, and prompt Bob and run out there, that I wouldn't be able, because it was all open fields around it pretty much, right, the house, that I would be, I should have been able to see someone. There was nothing. And I remember that. I mean, what was your fucking, what was your take on that, Bob? Because I remember I was really freaked out after that.
Well, the thing that stood out to me the most is I've seen fear in people, and everything from your posture to the color running out of your face was just like, I just saw something I can't explain. I need validation, and not validation of like, I need you to make me feel not crazy, but like, I need you to go with me because like this insane thing just happened. We need to sort this out. And when we got outside, I remember,
dude. I'm not even gonna try and dance around it. I was genuinely fucking scared.
well, like I said, what got me the most is when we got outside, both of our hearts dropped at the same time. When we saw that staircase, I'm like, okay. And I even stepped down there to say, like, well, is it possible that I can reach up there?
Right.
I mean, it would you'd have to be easily 1.5 my size, lengthwise to even
to reach up there.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense. And before that, you guys had like seen shadows out behind the barn and in the field. Like we thought there were people out there messing with us. We thought maybe it was
that was before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Where me and actually it was me and Brittany we had seen the same shadow person essentially, and we had ran where that little barn was. We had both ran on either side, like, if this is a person, we're gonna catch this motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we just met each other. There was nothing there.
Yeah, which
was a fucking crazy night, dude.
Yeah, and then I just went to sleep, and I felt so bad because, like,
oh my god, that's what. Well, I mean, I may as well just share the rest of basically what happened. Was we ended up doing a cleansing. Well, I would say you and Brittany more or less did a cleansing. I didn't really know what the fuck I was doing at the time. I was big scared, and whatever this thing was, whatever this entity or energy, whatever you want to call it, ghost, whatever it was, it seemed like burning sage and taking control of the domain in real time genuinely worked, because this thing was outside. And the reason I know that is because it was banging on the walls. And then, because every time I would try to fall asleep, right, like I'm so exhausted at this point. Every time I would start to doze off, me and Meg were sitting in the living room on the one of the couches, and she was able to doze off because she can sleep through anything. But every time I would start to doze off, it would bang behind me. So I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ, like this is so ridiculous. I remember laying on the floor, and then it started banging on the fucking basement, like ceiling underneath me. And what was so crazy is like, we experience all this shit. Like I'm very clearly freaked out, right? Like everyone's pretty freaked out. But Bob's like, I'm still really tired though. So like, I'm going to go fucking fall asleep in the room where everything kind of started. And it's like, I was shook at that point, dude. I was like, this is unbelievable. So I'm like, okay, like you sleep, I'll try to sleep. Obviously I couldn't sleep. I ended up staying up, and then I'm pretty sure I woke you guys back up, and I was like, look, I will just fucking take the L on whatever we paid for this and just rebook a new Airbnb so we can get the fuck out of here.
Well, so my brain was sleeping, and I know we have to end the episode here. We're running a little long for Brandon, but
sorry about that.
The reasoning was, I'm like, you know what? I've been reading these stories since I was a child. I would be the first person ever to be murdered by a ghost, and Kody's YouTube channel goes more viral than it already is overnight. This is a win. Like, it's fine. Just make sure you really cover this in true Mystery Archives fashion if this is how I go out.
Dude. I mean, absolute legend for sure. And like, it's hilarious now to reminisce on it, but holy shit, dude, it was not funny at the time. It was not fucking funny at all.
Yeah, that entire night was just bizarre.
The most aggressive, like paranormal happening I've ever experienced. It was insane for sure.
And there's some irony to it, because I've had this thought. So we've discussed like making a Mystery Archives. I say we discussed making it, but like you would do the heavy lifting of making this a Mystery Archives video. And I come to the same conclusion every time. Like, if you told this story and it was not about us, I would not fucking believe this. This sounds so like, okay, a YouTuber and a podcaster that cover the paranormal on the most aggressive poltergeist that I've heard of in 20 years. No fucking way.
It was fucking unbelievable. And I mean, you can't force anyone to believe your story. And I understand that, trust me, there's a shitload of cases that I've covered that I'm just like, there's absolutely no way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my point is just the irony is not lost on me that like we cover these things religiously, for lack of a better term here. and it happened to us, and I would not believe the story. Like if I heard this, like I know your listeners, like there's no fucking way this happened.
Right.
I promise, like that's not even the most unbelievable. One day I'll get into the Skinwalker Ranch stories, and then you're like, now that's something you shouldn't believe because I was there, and I still don't believe that half of what happened at Skinwalker Ranch actually happened. But this instance, I can tell you definitively, there were three other witnesses that weren't myself. There was more healthy skepticism than probably any other paranormal story you're going to hear. Because again, Cody and I both approach this of like the Spider-Man meme of pointing at each other like, hey, I gotcha. And then
Dude,
we
100%.
like we never had the gotcha moment, and then the hand happens where it's like, okay, we're all four in the same room. Unless we have another person infiltrating us and helping us with this, and we explain why that couldn't have happened. Then all of a sudden, that was the moment of like, okay, we now have to accept that none of us four were messing with each other. Now, again, does that?
I even forgot to mention the banging on the door and then Brittany running out full fucking feral mode when it's like 10 degrees outside, no fucking shoes, about to beat some ass, and then there's no one.
Yeah.
Like it was a fucking crazy night, man.
Brandon, next time we're on the show, we'll get Meg because Meg is our little cipher goblin, and she remembers everything about everything.
She does.
Like she can tell you a much better, more detailed story. And I'm sure we left out 50 things that were equally insane, but that's the gist of this location. Like I said, the craziest thing was one, she's my only negative Airbnb host review out of like 70. And then the fact that we were the last guests and she took the listing down is insane to me. Like
being more versed in things now, dude, I would like almost want to go back and just see, but like we can't find the fucking listing anymore. Like it has to be gone.
Yeah, well, like I said, but when I went back to the messages and clicked on it, like she has no properties listed, says she hasn't been active since that year. And I'm just like, well, what is that about? Is this a Stephen King book? Like that doesn't make any fucking sense. That doesn't sound real because we can't even point listeners to this location anymore. Now I have the screenshots. I can send those to somebody, but it's like all
like,
that
I'm sure we could maybe physically fucking find it, but like as far as like where it's at in the app or whatever, I'm fairly certain that people can't actually book it to like stay in it.
Yeah, and we still have the funny joke that in the description it said "great for kids," and I'm like, "That's the best
dude."
book.
I was like, "Yep, super great for kids and families."
Off air, I'm going to ask you like directly more about where this was. I don't want to say anything on here just because,
sure.
Without it being on Airbnb or anything like that, I don't want people out there trying to find a place if it comes up being somewhere, someone knows what place you're talking. I don't want people going creeping around people's places. So off air, I'll ask you more about it. So, before we wrap it up, I would like for both you guys to let the audience know about your shows and your new show and everything else and where they can check it out at.
For sure. Would you like to go first, Bob?
Yeah, so I run the Tales from the Dark podcast. It's basically anywhere you can find podcasts. Just search Tales from the Dark. Same thing over on YouTube. And then Cody and I both host the Ghost and Me podcast. We're a fairly young podcast. We'd appreciate any new listeners. Just check us out. If you don't like us, don't tell us about it because we have fragile egos. But you can find that on YouTube and then any basically if it's a podcast platform, we're on there. The Ghost and Me.
I second that with the Ghost and Me, and with my personal endeavors, I run Mystery Archives over on YouTube. And I also have several books out now that are called Stories from the Archives, volumes 1, 2, and 3. And basically each book contains 10 deep dives into real paranormal cases. I also go in depth on my own experiences, both on my channel as well as in volume 2 of my book series. And definitely check out the Ghost and Me podcast. And if you like scary documentary style content, I delve into real paranormal cases, then come check out Mystery Archives as well.
Awesome. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same to you, man. I really appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, it's always a great time when you let me grace your presence there, Brandon. So we definitely appreciate the ongoing friendship here. That's been great. There's not a lot of folks I consistently will reappear on the programs, and I always have a good time here on Tinfoil Tales. So we definitely appreciate you having us.
If you'd like to be a guest on Tinfoil Tales, remember to send an email to tinfoiltalespodcast@gmail.com or go to tinfoiltales.com and go to the contact section. Make sure to follow me around on all the social medias. And just remember, truth comes at a cost. Are you willing to pay the price?
I heard a story late last night about something lurking along the wood line. Huge footprints, strange lights in the sky. They claim it's nothing, but I know they lie. It's easier to laugh in my face, but something about this makes me say, what if it's real? What if they knew? What if the answers are coming from you? Spinning stories, wasting my time, hearing voices, is it all in their minds? They can call me crazy, but I just want some proof. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil tales pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. They see a dog man walking, or maybe a mothman flies above the buried giants, hidden beneath the lies. They say it's just stories, it's all make-believe. Fairy tales for the things we can't perceive. They want to keep us blinded, they want to break our will. But I'm not buying it, I'm not swallowing another pill. Force-fed poison, the lies we're made to believe. What if the truth could set us free? Alien signals traveling through time, secret space programs erasing their minds. They call them crazy, but I just need some proof. What if it's true? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil tales pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. They laugh, they lie, we all could die, but the signs are there if you open your eyes. Aliens, cryptids, demons, ghosts, the Nephilim too. What if it's me? Or what if it's real? What if it's real? What if it's true? What if the world's not what we knew? Tinfoil tales pulling me in, a story that starts where the logic ends. What if it's real? What if it's true? The answers are waiting, they're waiting for you. It's all in our heads, it's all in our minds. These voices can't be silenced, the truth must rise. Tinfoil tales, it's pulling me through. What if it's real? What if it's true?